Buckle up, here come 20 tips to improve your DxO PhotoLab 8 workflow. Let's start with project groups. Projects are virtual collections of photos that have no reference to the original photos on your hard drive. You can put any images from anywhere in any project. For example, I'll go in here and select a series of landscape images like this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then click on the plus button and choose Create New Project. I'll call this Landscapes, and ensure that Include Selected Images is selected. When I create that, in the Landscapes project, we'll see the photos that I just added. Now I can go to another folder, on the same hard drive or on a different hard drive or anywhere else in my system, and add those photos to that Landscapes project as well. Now I see photos from two different folders living inside the same project. I can take this a step further by grouping projects. I'll create a new project group and call this one Nature. Inside of the Nature group, I'll put my Landscapes project and my Wildlife project. Now if I select Wildlife, I'll see those photos. Landscapes, I see those. And if I select Nature, I'll see everything in both the Landscapes and the Wildlife projects. Copy and paste metadata. If you want to copy and paste the metadata from one image to another, select the image, go to the Image menu and choose Copy Metadata. Then go to the image or images that you want to paste that on. Go to Image, Paste Metadata. You can choose to paste all the metadata, just the keywords, the GPS coordinates if they exist, the author and copyright, or you can choose to paste selected metadata. And from this screen, you can choose exactly what you want to paste. Apply presets to multiple images. I'm currently in the photo library view. If I want to apply presets to one or many images, I can select those, go to the Presets menu, and choose a preset, like black and white, and that'll apply to all of those images at once. Quickly delete all rejected images. Once you've taken the time to go through your images and mark all the rejects, it's easy to delete them by going to the Filter menu, choosing to filter by rejected images, selecting all, right-clicking, and choosing Remove. Remember that removing images in DxO PhotoLab simply moves them to the system's trash. Compare your photo to anything. The Compare tool in DxO PhotoLab has a ton of options. You can compare to the original image with or without geometry corrections. So if I select Without Geometry and then I press and hold the Compare button, we'll see a true comparison to the original photo without any adjustments applied at all. I can also choose to compare it to a virtual copy. I've made a black and white version of this photo, so I can easily compare to that. I can also view my comparisons as a side-by-side, top to bottom, or even as a split view. But the comparison tool isn't just for comparing to the same image. I can also compare to any other image. Let's say I want to make sure the colors of the photo I'm working on are similar to this one here. I'll go to the Compare menu and choose Use Current Image as reference. Now when I go back to the photo I was just working on, we'll see those two photos side by side. That allows me to make changes to the photo I'm working on while looking at its reference. View the HSL tool Mask. The HSL tool makes it very easy to select any basic color range and affect it. For example, I'll select the orange on the pelican's beak, and then I can make changes to it. But if you want to know exactly what color range you've selected, while you're adjusting the hue wheel here, if you hold down Command on Mac or Control on Windows, you'll see very clearly what part of the image has or hasn't been selected. The image turns black and white, and only the parts of the image that are selected are left in color. Clean up your workspace. You have two default workspaces in DxO PhotoLab. You have Standard and Advanced. Starting in Standard, when you first open an image, you'll see basic tools here on the right, and to get to any of the more advanced adjustments, you simply click on the collection at the top to reveal those tools. However, you can also switch over to the Advanced workspace. In the Advanced workspace, all the tools available will be exposed at once over here on the right. Save your workspace. If you want to save a custom layout, you can collapse any of these that you want, open individual filter adjustments, and even tear off individual palettes. Then save this as a custom workspace. Then at any time, no matter what I've changed, if I go to the Workspaces menu and load my user workspace, you'll see that it returns exactly the way that I saved it. Spacebar to pan around. When zoomed into your photo, to pan around the image, grab the hand tool and then click and drag to pan around. However, if you're in another tool, let's say the white balance selector, and you want to pan, you can go back to the hand tool or simply hold down the spacebar. With the spacebar held down, the cursor changes to a hand and allows you to pan around. As soon as you let go of the spacebar, the cursor returns to whatever you are working with. Custom crop ratios. When cropping your image, in the bottom left, you'll have a variety of preset crop ratios. For example, 1:1 for square, 4:3, 16:9, and so on. However, you can enter a custom ratio of anything you like by simply clicking in the space here and typing in the numbers. I'll type in 65:24, an X-pan ratio, hit return, and now I have that custom super wide crop. Auto Mask Brush. Control points and control lines are fantastic masking tools, but sometimes the image calls for a good old-fashioned auto mask. Watch this. In this image, I want to select just the blue sky, but as we can see, the blue color is all over this photo and the reflections of the windows. So any mask based off of hue or chroma is just not going to work. So in this case, let's use the Auto Mask brush. Auto Mask is effectively edge detection. Take a close look at the brush itself. The center area indicates an area that will definitely be part of the mask, while the outer, more transparent area is where the mask will be looking for an edge. So to mask out this sky, all I have to do is paint along the edge here, ensuring that the center point is always in the sky, and that the edge of the building that I want to mask around is always in that transparent edge. We'll go ahead and get the whole image selected. Make sure we don't miss anything up here in the middle. And now as I change the exposure, we can see that that mask was perfectly created. Change mask overlay color. The default color for the mask is kind of a red color that is not always easy to see exactly what's been selected. When I create a hue mask over these pink flowers, that red color overlay can be a little difficult to see. We can switch the mask color to any color that we want. I'll go ahead and set it to blue, and now the mask is much easier to see. View alpha mask in black and white. You also have the ability to switch from a color overlay to a black and white overlay, which shows you only the mask. This way you know exactly what is and is not being selected. Invert your masks. I already created the auto mask here for the sky, but what if I want to select the buildings instead? Sometimes it's easier to select the area that you don't want and then to invert the mask. I already have my mask selected here. Let's go ahead and select that and duplicate it so I have a copy of it, and then I'll invert the copy. With that copy inverted, now as I change the exposure or anything else, it's only affecting the outside of that mask, in this case, the buildings. Multiple controls in one mask layer. Sometimes a single mask isn't enough to get the job done. Let's say I want to select all the different red parts of these birds. I'll use a control point and click on the first block of red. As you can see, it's done a pretty good job of selecting the red, but of course it hasn't selected the rest of it because the circle just isn't big enough. Well, by the time I make this big enough to select everything, as we can see, it's selecting a lot more than just the red portions. So instead of trying to do this all with one control point, let's make this a bit smaller, and then I'll simply add more control points. I'll add another one here, and here, and here as well. Now as I look at the black and white overlay, we can see much more clearly that we've selected all the red parts of the image. You can even use negative control points to protect parts of the image. I'll switch down here to negative control points, and then start clicking on parts of the image that I want to protect. For example, there, and there, and now we can see that we're really only selecting the red parts of the photo. As I make changes to it now, we'll see that I've done a pretty good job of isolating just those parts of the birds. Mask refinement with chroma and luma sliders. On this overhead photo of the water, I want to enhance what we already have. I want to take this slightly darker area here and make it even darker still, while still letting it fade out to lighter as it gets towards the shore. To do that, I'm going to use a control line. A control line is basically a linear gradient combined with a control point. With this eyedropper, I can choose what part of the image I want the mask to be based off of, and you can see as I drag it around that we're selecting pretty much just the blue and not the boats. But it's not perfect. We are getting a bit of the boats over here and here. To refine that, I have my mask selectivity tools, which allows me to refine by chroma and luma. As I go all the way to the top at 100, this is telling me that I'm very, very limited in my chroma and its range. Maybe I'll back that off just a little bit. and you can see that the boats are completely not selected while most of the water still is. You can do the same thing with illuminance. Between these two sliders, you should be able to refine your mask perfectly. Now with that mask created, if I take the exposure down, we'll see that I'm darkening just the water and not the boats. Mask layer general opacity. Let's continue on this photo. Maybe I want to add a little bit more saturation and even cool down the water a little bit with the temperature slider. So now I've made 3 changes. I've changed the exposure, the saturation, and the white balance. I like it, but it's a bit too much overall. Instead of adjusting each one of those sliders individually, I can go to the mask options under control line and take the opacity of the entire mask and drag that down. That reduces the overall effect of everything all at once. Change workspace background color. If you want to change the background color behind your image where you're editing, go to the Settings menu, to the Display tab, and then under Background Color, you can choose anything you like. Change Auto Apply Presets. When you first installed DxO PhotoLab, you were asked which default settings you wanted applied to each new image, but you can change that. Under the PhotoLab menu, go to Settings, and under the General tab, under Auto Apply Presets, you can choose separately for RAW images or RGB images, that'd be something like a JPEG, and you can choose whether you want to have the natural preset, standard, optical corrections only, or you can choose any preset in your collection, even custom ones that you've made. Correction tool filtering. At any point while working on your image, if you want to see all the adjustments that have been applied in one place, click on this button. This filters by all active corrections and shows you everything that has been applied. If you turn something off in here, it'll disappear from the menu because it's no longer being applied. You also have the ability to filter by favorites. To mark any adjustment as a favorite, simply click on the star icon next to its name. Then, when you click on the star icon up here, it'll filter by favorites, showing you just your favorite corrections. Here you have your grouping filters, but you can actually combine the group filters with the favorites or active filters. Let's say that I turn on the color filter, so now I'm looking at all the color adjustments possible. But if I combine that with the active filter, now I'm seeing just the color effects that have been applied. Bonus tip: rejected images don't export. If you have an entire collection of photos that you're ready to export, but you've already marked some as rejects, you don't have to delete those. If you simply select everything and choose Export, all images will be exported except for the rejects. The rejects are automatically left out. I hope you enjoyed these 21 quick tips on DxO PhotoLab 8.